What if the most powerful freedom you have is the one no one can ever take from you? The freedom to decide what your life means right now in this exact moment. That idea changed my life. It was sparked by a small, remarkable book that builds on the wisdom of psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, the Holocaust survivor who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. Years later, two researchers, Pattakos and Elaine Dundon, sat down and distilled Frankl's approach into 7 practical principles you and I can actually live at home and at work. They called their book Prisoners of Our Thoughts because most of the time it's not our circumstances that trap us, it's the stories we keep repeating in our heads. Their promise is humble and radical at the same time. Apply these 7 principles and you will stop being a prisoner of your thoughts and start being the author of your life. Today, I want to take those 7 principles and put them on the ground in the middle of ordinary American life, on the subway, in the office, at the kitchen table after the kids go to bed. I will share how I use them where I still stumble and exactly how you can start. If you listen with an open mind, you may feel the quiet click of a key turning inside you. Let's begin. I first met Frankl's ideas the way many people do, during a tough season when nothing seemed to work. You may know Frankl's core insight that we can endure almost anything if we can answer the question, what is this for? He drew this from his own experience and from a lifetime of helping people find meaning even in suffering. That is the heartbeat behind these 7 principles. We do not chase happiness directly, we aim at meaning, and happiness follows as a side effect. Now, here is how I live these principles, one by one. Principle 1, choose your attitude. Picture this, it is a Tuesday. An email lands with the subject line "No one loves," organizational update. Your role is eliminated. In that split second, you do not control the economy, the market, or the decision. But there is a space, small, real, and unbelievably powerful, between what happens and what you do next. In that space lies your freedom to choose your attitude. Choosing your attitude is not toxic positivity. I do not force myself to grin when life guts me. Real optimism has 3 parts for me. First, I choose a posture. I tell myself out loud, if I have to, I will meet this with dignity. Sometimes I put my hand on my chest and feel my breath. Second, I name the full range of outcomes. I imagine the best that could happen and the worst that could happen, including the messy middle. That protects me from magical thinking and from despair. Third, I commit to the smallest courageous action I can take today. 1 phone call, 1 resume update, 1 gym session. I turn attitude into motion. This is not just a pep talk. It is the starting point Pattakos and Dundon highlight because without it the rest does not stick. Choosing your attitude is the first act of meaning making. Principle 2, exercise your will to meaning. Wants are loud, meaning is steady. For years, my goals were mostly wants dressed up as goals. I wanted a shinier title, a nicer car, the latest phone. I told myself these were motivating. Sometimes they were, but the deeper hunger stayed. If your goals are only about getting more, your appetite will outrun your progress. When your goals serve something bigger, someone you love, a cause you believe in, a craft you want to master, motivation becomes durable. Here is a simple way I separate wants from meaning. I sit with a blank page and write 1 sentence, finishing the phrase. This matters because if my answer is because people will notice or because I will look successful, I slow down. If my answer is because I want to help first-generation students find internships, or because I want to make stories that heal, now I am in the territory of meaning. Your will to meaning is a muscle. You strengthen it each time you trade a shallow why for a deeper one. That is what this principle invites, not a lifetime declaration, but daily reps. Principle 3, detect the meaning of the moment. Most of us search for meaning like it is a distant city on a map. This principle flips the map. Meaning is often right here, hidden in plain sight inside the moment you are already living. When my days get frantic, I practice a tiny drill I call a 2-minute meaning dig. I learned its spirit from this principle and adapted it to real life. At the end of a call, a meeting, a dinner, I ask myself 4 questions. How did I respond? What did I feel? What did I learn? How will this help me grow? I do this on the train home. Watching the sunset catch on 1,000 windows. I do it walking the dog around the block in the quiet just before bed. 2 minutes. That is enough to extract the gold from an ordinary day. The point is not to make every moment grand. The point is to notice that moments are not neutral, they are invitations. Pattakos and Dundon emphasize that meaning is discoverable in life's moments, especially the ones we tend to rush past. When I slow down enough to notice the small beauty in a coffee line, the grace in an apology, the strength in finishing a hard workout, my day stops feeling like a blur and starts feeling like a story. Principle 4, do not work against yourself. This one hits close to home. For a season, I chased approval like it was oxygen. I said yes when I wanted to say no. I dressed my people-pleasing up as being a team player, but inside I felt off. That is what working against yourself feels like. You are performing a version of you that looks successful and feels hollow. Frankl's tradition offers a few tools to turn that around. One is paradoxical intention. When I am overly attached to a result, please like me, please promote me, I sometimes playfully name the fear out loud. Watch me show up as myself and see what happens. Naming the pressure deflates it. Another is self-detachment, which we will unpack in the next principle. These are part of the broader approach known as logotherapy, an approach that helps people orient around meaning rather than symptoms. The point here is simple. When we twist ourselves to win approval or force outcomes, we undercut our own meaning. When we align choices with our values, energy returns. Here's how I practice do not work against yourself. Before a big commitment, I run a 30-second gut check. I close my eyes and ask, if I say yes to this, do I feel expanded or contracted? Expansion feels like breath in my ribs. Contraction feels like a knot in my throat. My body often tells the truth faster than my brain. If the answer is contraction, I look for a different way to contribute, or I say no with respect. Every time I do, I feel more like myself. Principle 5, look at yourself from a distance. Imagine a camera floating up and away from you like a drone shot in a movie. You see yourself, the person across the table, the whole room. From that vantage point, things that felt huge begin to shrink to their proper size. That is what self-detachment does. It separates you from your thoughts and feelings just enough that you can work with them instead of being dragged by them. Frankl modeled this in extreme conditions. There is a story of him focusing on an imagined future lecture while enduring brutal hardship. He saw himself in a suit years later, describing his current suffering to a room full of students, the ultimate long-shot perspective. It did not erase his pain, it gave it a frame. When you and I practice self-detachment, we are doing the same thing at a smaller scale, turning a raw moment into meaningful material. My favorite everyday tool here is humor, not sarcasm. Not laughing at other people, humor that includes you. When I am spiraling about a presentation, I give my anxiety a character name and a silly voice. Here comes nervous Nora again, warning me the projector will explode. Then I smile, I am still me, the spiral has less grip. Logotherapy even has a term for shifting attention away from hyper-self-focus to reflection. It is a skill anyone can learn, if humor is not your style. Try the 30-second documentary. Step out of the room, stand in the hallway, and narrate the scene in your head like a calm filmmaker. A tired parent is listening to a 9-year-old explain why broccoli is an injustice. The parent remembers they love this kid. You will come back in lighter and kinder. Principle 6, shift your focus of attention. When life hurts, our attention narrows like a lens stuck on zoom. We stare at the one thing we hate. We rehearse the one thing we fear. This principle asks us to redirect that attention, even a little, toward what we can love, serve, or do. Years ago, a senior manager I knew lost his job and started picking up shifts at a public golf course. He could have told himself the story many of us would be tempted to tell. From playing the game to picking up balls, from being respected to being invisible. He chose a different story. He decided to be a student of the game again. He learned people's names. He took pride in clean fairways and a well-run morning. He found dignity in service, which poured back into him. The facts did not change. His focus did. You and I can practice this anywhere. In a traffic jam on the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, I ask, who can I be for the people in the car with me? On a deadline at work, I ask, what matters most for the customer who will use this? During a tough conversation, I ask, what is the smallest generous interpretation I can offer right now? Every shift loosens the mental handcuffs. In Frankl's tradition, this kind of redirection is part of building a life that transcends the small self. We reduce anxiety not by obsessing over it, but by aiming our attention at meaning. Principle 7, extend beyond yourself. If the earlier principles tune your inner life, this one widens your horizon. Life gets clearer when we stop asking only, what do I want from life, and start asking, what does life want from me? That question pulls us into contribution, into relationship, into courage. Psychologists call this self-transcendence. It is the experience of becoming more fully yourself by orienting towards something larger than yourself: family, community, craft, country, even faith. Research suggests that seeking meaning at multiple levels, the moment, a calling, an ultimate horizon, supports resilience and well-being. But you do not need a paper to feel the truth of it. Think about the last time you forgot yourself while helping someone or while doing work you love. You probably felt both small and strong at once. I keep a short list on my phone called Who I Serve. It is not grand. It says my partner, my family, my audience, my neighbors. When I feel stuck, I open that list and choose one name. I text to check in. I cook dinner. I write the script. I go rake the leaves next door without being asked. Tiny acts. Big meaning, putting it together in real life. You do not have to overhaul your life to live these principles. You can weave them into a single morning. Wake up between 6:30 and 7. Before you touch your phone, choose your attitude. Today, I will be curious and kind. During coffee, write one sentence about what matters today and why. On your commute, do a 2-minute meaning dig about yesterday. At lunch, practice not working against yourself by saying a sincere no to a request that contracts your chest. In the afternoon, when stress spikes, step into the hallway and run the 30-second documentary to gain distance. On the way home, shift your focus by planning one small act of service you will do tonight. Before bed, extend beyond yourself by sending a note of thanks to someone who made your day easier. That is it. One day lived with meaning. Stack enough of those together and your life will tilt. A few stories for the road. A friend of mine runs a small landscaping business outside Austin. A summer storm knocked out power across several neighborhoods. He had a backlog of paid jobs. He also had a crew with chainsaws and a lot of neighbors with fallen limbs. He made a choice. He paused the paid work for morning, gathered the crew, and cleared driveways on his block for free. The funny thing is, his revenue for the month did not drop. The reputation he built by extending beyond himself came back to him in referrals for weeks. That is not why he did it, but meaning has a way of multiplying. Another friend is a nurse who used to carry the weight of every shift home. She is amazing with patience and hard on herself. She started using self-detachment in micro moments. When her inner critic ramped up, she pictured herself as a character in a series she loves, watched from a gentle distance, and asked, what would a wise mentor say to her right now? The critic faded. Compassion grew. Her work did not change. Her experience of it did. One more. A father in Ohio told me his son has been struggling with math. The nightly homework battle was draining everyone. One evening, he shifted the focus. Instead of forcing a perfect worksheet, he asked his son to teach him one problem, any problem, as if dad were the student. The kid lit up. He explained the steps. He caught his own mistake. They high-fived. The worksheet still took time, but the energy changed, and so did the relationship. Meaning showed up in a kitchen chair. Practices you can try this week. If you like checklists, here's a simple one you can run starting tomorrow. Choose your attitude every morning with a one-sentence intention you can remember in a hard moment. Exercise your will to meaning by rewriting one goal so it serves a deeper why. Run a half marathon becomes get healthy so I can play with my kids without gasping for air. Detect the meaning of the moment with one 2-minute meaning dig each day. Set a reminder on your phone for the commute or the walk with the dog. Stop working against yourself by practicing a respectful no. Your future self will thank you. Look at yourself from a distance with humor or the 30-second documentary when you catch your brain spiraling. Shift your focus by asking, what is the smallest helpful thing I can do in the next 5 minutes? Extend beyond yourself by doing one quiet act of service. No post, no announcement, just the action. An extra tool I love, mental travel. Close your eyes for 60 seconds and take your mind somewhere that restores you. Standing on a trail in Zion, toes in the cold Pacific north of San Francisco, or seated on a weathered bench in a small town square in Vermont in peak fall. Let the scene fill your senses. Breathe there. Return with a calmer nervous system and a wider lens. When the world feels narrow, mental travel proves your imagination can still move, which means your life can still move. Why this matters now: our world is fast, loud, and full of pressure. The news can make you feel like your agency is shrinking. Frankl's legacy and these 7 principles insist on the opposite. They whisper, you always have a say. The say you have may be small, it is still sacred. And interestingly, when you use that small say, when you choose your attitude, your focus, your contribution, your sphere of influence tends to grow. You are not a prisoner of your thoughts. You are the warden who can open the door. The key is simple daily practice. The door swings from the inside. A final note of encouragement. Please do not wait for the perfect mood or the perfect plan. Meaning is not waiting out there at the top of some distant mountain. It is waiting at your sink while you wash the dishes. It is in your calendar when you schedule quiet time between 6:30 and 8:30 in the morning to do the work that matters before the day gets noisy. It is in the way you treat the barista when your order is wrong. It is in the text you send to the friend you have been meaning to check on. Meaning hides in plain sight and it loves to be found. If you feel lost, start small. Choose your attitude for the next hour. Ask, what does life want from me in this conversation? Do the smallest generous thing. Tonight, before you sleep, write one sentence that begins, today mattered because, if you keep doing that, a story will emerge. It will be your story and it will be good. If this inspired you, please give it a like, subscribe for more weekly insights, and share it with a friend who's on this journey with you. Thanks so much for being here. I truly appreciate you. See you in the next video.